Welcome back. The Sustainability Research and Innovation SRI Congress will take place this week from Monday to Friday. The Congress is the world's largest transdisciplinary gathering for the global sustainability community. SRI unites more than 2,000 global sustainability research leaders, government and civil society experts, funders and innovators to inspire action and promote a sustainability transformation. The annual event provides a platform to share innovative ideas and create an inspiring and inclusive space for the collaboration and action. So the second edition of SRI will offer a program of over 200 interactive sessions, workshops, trainings, networking events, innovation, demonstrations, satellite events, and much, much more. To talk about this, Professor Stephanie Burton is Vice Principal for Research and Postgraduate Education and Future Africa, joins us now. A very good evening to you. Thank you so much for taking the time to speak to us, Professor. I know I said a mouthful, perhaps let's just whittle it down to layman's terms. What the strategic importance of this conference is?
Good evening, and thank you very much for this opportunity to talk about this important Congress. It does bring together global thought leaders, and it's all about promoting sustainability and a transformation towards a more sustainable world. But the important opportunity for this is that we can amplify the voice of sustainability science and innovation in the global south. And specifically, this Congress is focusing on the African continent and seeking to raise awareness and stimulate discussions about sustainability priorities for Africa. So it's a global conference, but this year we have an African viewpoint. The hope is that Africa will be really a part of it, and the African participants can share the knowledge that they have and contribute to finding solutions that reflect African perspectives. Very key aspect of it is the opportunity to network and to form meaningful collaborations with other areas in the world.
Okay, so before we get into how you're going to leverage some of what you build, including about Future Africa, I want to talk about what you call the wicked challenges, as you categorize them. What exactly are they, and how much do they relate to the priorities of particularly the global north? As you said, right now we're focusing on Africa.
Okay, so we talk about wicked challenges being the kind of challenges that require more than one kind of expertise to answer them. So if you think about what are the challenges that we have in any part of the world, but particularly here, the issues are around the combination of availability of resources, connectivity and communication, dependence on climate for livelihoods and so on. So we can list challenges that Africa faces: poverty, lack of employment, food security, and the threat of climate change, for example, to food production, and the need for reliable energy supply and insufficient infrastructure. These are all interconnected challenges. So we call them wicked because you can't take one disciplinary area and find a solution to these. They need to have the interplay between different areas of expertise and also an interaction with the community or the society who are affected by those wicked challenges. So this is something where you need to find a mixed, integrated solution. And so we call them wicked because there is no one solution, and you need to take a transdisciplinary approach to the way you seek solutions.
And that's why you've created this platform, Future Africa, as you call it, to bring together the various expertise and think tanks or academic resources. Tell us a little bit of some of the work that's already been done, what you've gleaned from it, particularly in how what is known as sub-Saharan Africa is different to other regions in dealing with sustainability issues, or what bedevils it.
Well, let's start with Future Africa. Future Africa is a transdisciplinary research institute at the University of Pretoria. This Congress is being hosted by Future Africa in collaboration with the International Future Earth Network and the Belmont Forum. But our work at Future Africa has the goal of bringing together networks of people who are interested in those challenges that we're talking about and interested in working cooperatively to address those challenges. So we drive transdisciplinary research agendas with innovative methods and networks which go across boundaries, across political boundaries. And we host programs at Future Africa which train research leaders, because we believe that the solutions that Africa needs need to be designed by African scientists, and we need to develop them understanding what Africa needs. So we offer leadership training and research mentorship and research programs which are inclusive of many different stakeholders. And that's what distinguishes Future Africa. So what are we doing about that in terms of where we are now? Well, what we're looking at is the trends that are the current issues. What are the interrelationships, for example, between sustainability and climate sciences, how we might develop understanding of the impact of climate change and the interrelationship with economic pressures. So these are those are just examples. And then, of course, there is the impact of all of that on health and health challenges, and how do we address issues such as the pandemic. So we bring together scientists who work together with government and business, and they look at, for example, issues of Agenda 2063, and look at what is the work that needs to be done to find ways to foster resilience in society and in the economy. I hope that answers your question.
Okay, so let's talk about urban cities and the role that they can help us play in social, economic, and environmental development for Africa in particular.
Yeah, urbanizing cities, African cities, is a very important issue. At the moment, more than half of the global population lives in an urban area, but that number is growing very fast, and the highest influx into cities is in Africa. And of course, there's a very sharp contrast between African urban areas and African rural areas. So this challenge is about creating urban centers that are self-sustaining and can innovate in terms of food production, water and energy systems, and create what we might call sustainable consumption. And in order to do that, we need to have planning and we need to have policies, and city centers need to be able to develop in a way that allows them to meet the demands for services, for food, for supply of energy, for transport and housing. And what's more, cities need to be resilient. They need to be able to cope with and withstand current crises and evolving crises. So look at what happened with the COVID-19 pandemic. There will be future stressors, which will include climate change, different kinds of pollution risks, aging infrastructure, economic uncertainty. And the leaders of today need to plan for cities that can manage those crises. So it's a very topical and current problem.
Quick and final question, just in terms of your studies in chemical engineering, I'd like to, lean in on that. If we're speaking about innovation, how should we be framing some of the challenges, some of the solutions, particularly when it comes to gender mainstreaming? I mean, Africa's population is largely female, and we know that there's so many services that are discriminated against them, even the infrastructure in itself. So how do we use science to reshape our thinking?
It's an interesting question. I am not a chemical engineer. I'm actually a scientist in the biological sciences, but I spent a very long time working with engineers in a chemical engineering environment. And it absolutely does help you to frame your understanding. the importance of all of this is that engineering brings to these discussions early rational design and allows you to integrate all of these different priorities and use multiple areas of expertise in a systematic way. And industry and society need these practical solutions. So what we need to do is to train scientists and engineers to work together, to think together, and then to consult and to consider the requirements and views of the community. And when you come to consider the gender issue, there are more and more women who are involved in this, and more important is the involvement of women in communities in developing what it is that we say are good solutions, because women understand very well the needs of their community, the needs of their families, and of course the approaches that their traditional communities and backgrounds will bring. So having an environment where women can work in developing these kind of solutions will allow us to see perhaps a broader view and bring to the answers, to our solutions, a very human and understanding way of finding what we need to do.
Professor Burton, thank you very much for your time and sharing with us. Professor Stephanie Burton is a Vice Principal for Research and Postgraduate Education and Future Africa at the University of Pretoria. Now,